Parenting is hard. It can also be rewarding, but getting through the grind to the good stuff can be a real struggle. And all of us could use some inspiration, encouragement, or just a reminder that we aren't alone on this journey. Sometimes even parents need a timeout.
Hi, welcome to Parents Time Out. My name's Kim Botto. I lead Kids Club and Student Ministry at Crossroads, and I'm the mom of 5 and the grandma of 7, soon to be 8. And we're so glad you're here tonight because we're going to be talking about raising kids who love adventure and creating fun in our families. And Lori and David Valentine are our guests tonight. And hi, Lori and David. We're so glad they are just less than a mile down the street from me. And we've been friends for years. And I will say that when I'm trying to come up with something fun to do with my kids, we have a Botto family adult dinner. I often will ask David, got any new games? And Balderdash is one you recommended, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so fun.
Yeah.
So they're in. Lori is she's one of the best nurturers that I know. She's super active. You are, Lori. You've nurtured me.
Wow.
And she's very active in the community that we live in. And so we're so glad to have you guys. And while we're waiting for people to hop on, we're going to answer a question, okay? And the question is, what is your favorite adventure you've done with your kids? And if you're listening in, we would love to hear what your favorite adventure is as a family. So what is it, you guys?
Well, I can go first. I'm wearing this T-shirt here, Kim, that has very special meaning to me. This represents a family tradition that we do every year where we take our family, kind of do a mini family reunion of sorts, but we always bring just a lot of fun and gaming and, let's just say sometimes we worry we bring too much fun and we're going to get in trouble at the place we go. But it becomes I'll talk about a little bit later, but it has become such a valuable family tradition. And I look forward to it every single year because we just have a ton of fun as a family.
You do. Yeah. And it's how many people go? Because it's a bunch of people.
Now it's probably 25 or so.
Yeah.
Maybe 30. Yeah. It's become a lot, but it's really fun.
Good. I've heard stories. It sounds really fun. Lori?
Well, what you need to do is ask at some point about what the meaning of all of these things on the T-shirt are, because they each do have stories of their own. I would say my favorite adventure, last spring break in 2019, my mom was celebrating her 75th birthday, and we went to Zion National Park, and it was so much fun, and it was so beautiful. I honestly feel like God used like a whole different color palette when he painted Utah. It was really, really fun. Fun times.
That is fun. Yeah. How long were you there? Like a week?
Yep.
Yeah. May Klingler, she just commented that one of her favorite adventures was a road trip with her dad without a destination. We all know May. And what they did is they had an envelope with money, and they just took off driving until they ran out of money. And she created a video of it. And yeah, what a fun thing to do as an adult, to go on a road trip with your dad.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, okay. So we talked about adventure. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and your family?
Okay, I can go. So we have been married for 20 years, or it will be 20 years this year. And we have 3 kids. They are now 17, 15, almost 16, and 10. And what else should we tell you, Kim?
Whatever you want to tell us, D-Val.
So I'm a graphic designer, which explains the T-shirt and how I put that together. And I work at Crossroads. That's a fun fact with you, Kim. And
we carpool sometimes.
Yes, we carpool. It's,
when we go to the office.
We used to carpool when we went to the office. That's right. Always an adventure. What else? What else would you add about our family?
I think that's it. We have a really strong legacy of fun and adventure in our family, especially in Dave's side of the family. So I think he should just maybe tell you some about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell us about the legacy in your family of fun and adventure.
Cool. I will. So for us, I think the big, when Lori and I got married, we started having kids. I came from this family where camp was a big deal and playing was a big deal. I played a lot of sports. My family was, my parents, I was thinking about this. They weren't necessarily always playing with me. Like my dad didn't shoot a bunch of basket, hoops with me, but they facilitated so much of what then I grew up in as, play. And one example of this that sticks out is that like in my junior high to high school years, we had an entry into my house that was like a split levels, like two floors. It sounds like it's real fancy. It's not that fancy, but it just facilitated the ability to have a basketball hoop, like a mini basketball hoop inside the foyer. And it was about 9 feet. And so my friends and I would play basketball on that basketball hoop in the foyer until 1 or 2 in the morning. Now, looking back on it, I realized that what they were doing was very strategic. They were setting a space in our home where I would be with my friends every Friday and Saturday night, late into the night, and they knew exactly where we were.
Yes.
As a parent, what I cannot believe is that basketball hoop was right outside their bedroom door. And so they would go to bed 10 or 11, and we would play basketball loudly until 1 or 2 in the morning. And I don't know that I would have the patience now to put up with that. But what it taught me was a lesson that Lori and I have really tried to teach our kids, and that is simply that our kids are much more valuable to us than our house. There's something about play and adventure, however that you engage with that in your family, where you just have to realize that things can't be super precious because the time is what's so precious. Right. And so we've done a lot of things where it's like we're gonna, put stuff in place where fun is at the forefront and not worry so much about if something gets broken or, what could happen to the furniture, et cetera.
Right. So obviously with a basketball hoop in your foyer, your family was all about fun and you grew up in a family like that. But and if any of you are watching, if you have questions, you can go ahead and type those in and then we'll get to those. But let's say that we did not grow up in a home that had a basketball hoop in our foyer. And maybe we didn't grow up in a home that was particularly fun or adventurous. So then what do we do? How do we even start having more fun in our family?
Great question, Kim.
Thank you, D-Val.
So for us, I think, we had to ask that same question. And for us, the way it started was we were, if we're just being honest, we were looking around at when we had younger kids, we were looking around at some of the places that we were, some, parties that we went to, and we realized there was sort of this trend where the kids, even the teens were kind of relegated to the basement while the adults maybe were just upstairs drinking and carrying on. And it just struck us as like, I don't really want this to be the story of my family, that kids are always in the basement doing whatever and we get to just be up with an adult time. And it started to really change something in us where we said, I think the reality is that kids are going to seek adventure one way or the other. And what would it look like for us to be the ones that inspires the adventure versus the ones who are disciplining the adventure or putting up with the adventure. And so that became kind of this why for us, this why fun and adventure is so important. And it really became kind of a guiding principle. And so it wasn't so much like, oh, I just grew up and we had a lot of fun, and so that was very natural. No, it became like a disciplined choice. And, we started to implement things in our family when they were younger, like a family game day, like I can talk about some other specific examples, but things that we were doing to just add fun into the equation. Would you add something to that?
Oh, that picture.
Yeah, and because David is a graphic designer, he has great graphics for all of his events, including his family game day.
Oh.
That's so cute.
Well, just to build on what David said, as we just thought about like family, you always hear families that pray together, stay together. Well, we were pretty sure that it was families that play together. Plus, we were a lot better at playing. And when I looked at what teenagers still like to hang out with their parents, it was teenagers and older children that had a lot of fun with their families. So it wasn't through rules and discipline. It was through capturing their heart through play and through fun. And so we just decided that this is going to be a focus of our family. We're going to make everything fun. We're going to make everything fun in an intentional way. We are making things fun for the purpose of capturing their hearts throughout. Now, I mean, we still have 15 and 17-year-olds, and thankfully, I can say that it seems to be working so far. There are no guarantees that this is going to work, but this is just what we decided to kind of like throw ourselves into when they were little.
Yeah, and Mac and Honor, as teenagers, I see them. They still want to hang out with you. And I would say, even for parents who are concerned about the discipline piece of, oh, it's Mac yelling.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that idea, Kim.
I'll talk to you later, Mac. I think, though, even parents who are concerned about the discipline piece, discipline happens best in the context of relationships. Right. And the best way to build relationships with your kids is to have fun with them. And David, I love what you said as far as you decided, wait a minute, you don't want the kids in a separate room. Sometimes I think that as parents, we do that because we think that's what we're supposed to do. When kids come over, you put the kids over here and you put the adults over here. And we found in our house that actually families they all just kind of all hang out here. We'll have games going on and everybody participating. So I think that's a really great thing to just consider when you're having other families over. Are you segregating them or are we doing it all together? We've got a couple questions in. Beth, you want to throw one up there? Okay, this is from Jamie Junger. By putting fun and adventure at the forefront of your family, how have you seen that impact your relationship with your kids?
Hi, Jamie Junger. Thank you for that question. Well, like Lori said, I mean, what I have seen is that our kids want to hang out with us. Maybe too much so, because they're still hanging out with us all the time. And so we have grown from, Brian Tome has talked about the stages of parenting that you go from whatever king to nurse to king to coach to, and I would say Lori and I and some of our kids have reached the coach phase, but we're entering into that phase where we'll be more friend. And I think we've created a good on-ramp for that because we genuinely like each other. And that's been actually a huge blessing during COVID because we're stuck together. And we've loved it.
Well, and the thing is, like families that I know that really, shoved a lot of church and everything down their kids' throat while they're screaming and kicking. Once they become teenagers, like you cannot do that anymore. And so if you don't have that relational capital with your kid and with your teenager to say like, hey, I get that you're processing and you're questioning some things and that's awesome. Like you're screwed, like you don't have a hope. You have to like wait it out with it. It's okay that they're kind of doing that. And my friends seem so disappointed and so surprised that their children who have gone to church all of a sudden are not interested and they're totally rebelling against it. And I'm like, I think that's normal. I think that's okay.
It's actually a good thing because they're making their faith their own. So, and the way to make it their own is to question what you have taught them. But yeah, they're at a point where they're too big. You can't carry them to the car and strap them in the car seat and then carry them into church. And so you have to have some other way to negotiate, and through relationship. Yeah, that's the best way.
I want to add one thing back to Jamie's question. So another thing that I have noticed is that we picked some other families that we kind of started this approach with. And we did a few intentional things. Like one, we hung out like Super Bowl parties or different kinds of things, New Year's Eves or other types of game nights, the family game day thing. So things where we were having fun with our kids intentionally. And then those are still the families that often, like I'll say, Honor, what do you want to do this week? And she's like, I don't know. Could we just like hang out with the families?
Mm-hmm.
Like she'll just call them like the families. And she knows that means that there'll be sometimes that we're all together, and probably sometimes now that they're older, they'll go off and play for a while, but it's just like this safe place and we're all hanging out with the families.
Yeah. And one thing, Andy Rasmussen just said, family game day. Love that idea. One of the things I know you guys do is you name things. So you don't just say, let's get a bunch of families together and play a few games. It's like family game day, or what are some of the other ones you have? Somebody asked a question about what are some summer fun ideas. So what are some things that you have named and branded, because that's what you do, that other families could try?
Yeah, we name it, brand it, and then make a T-shirt, and then you are official.
Yeah, this is an official thing. So I'm trying to think. Family game day was a simple one. That was families getting together at a local park to play a game as families. We would, we decided the game ahead of time. We picked the shelter that we were going to show up at, and we played this game together, and we invited other families in, kind of as like a missional thing to reach other people. But the big deal was just getting together to play. So we've done that. We've done family game night, which is a little bit different, which is just pick a night and say, we're going to pull a board game out, or we're going to learn a new game, or we're going to play, charades or something. And we would do that once a week. And so that's, in my book, always a win, because I always think gaming is very fun. We have done outdoor movie nights. We've done, I have set up the tent outside and pulled the TV down and done movies in the tent. You're less likely to catch Lori Valentine in the tent past a certain time, because she'll be back in her bed. But that's a simple one. I think we've done, when my kids were really little, I used to set up a volleyball court situation in our living room, and we would play with balloons, which is surprisingly fun even as an adult, because you can really whack it, but they can still hit it back. So we would do that a lot. So those are some ideas.
I mean, now the older kids, they play pickleball and tennis all the time. You definitely want to have a ping pong table in your house, even if it's just like the one you put on your dining room table. They have a lot of tournaments with that. We were able to teach our kids euchre. Yeah.
I believe you haven't mentioned what I think is one of the most fun things you do.
Oh, family camp?
No, slip and slide.
Oh.
The slip and slide.
I'm trying to forget that.
The epic slip and slide.
In grass. Yeah. Oh, look. I didn't know you had a picture.
This goes to that idea that, things can't be precious. So we got this giant piece of plastic. It was probably 100 feet long, maybe 15 feet wide. And we have a nice, gentle hill that ends in woods, which could be dangerous. But you roll that thing out, and we have had so much fun. Speaking of the families, when we first did it, I remember they all came over, and it was super fun for kids and adults. And so that is a blast.
And what'd your dad say? That's his famous line.
Yeah. So my dad's famous line is, we had that big piece of plastic out, and someone asked him, I think it was my brother-in-law, said, "Hey, Phil, won't that big piece of plastic kill the grass?" And my dad just looked at him and said, "He's not growing grass. He's growing kids."
Love that. I love that. Yeah. Well,
when I say it now, it sounds like he's some wise old cowboy or something, but he didn't really say that. So, but that's been kind of a guiding mentality of like, yeah, that's right. That's what
the kids are more important than the grass.
Right.
That's good.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got some questions here. We're going to get to Annie. Blankenship asked, "What's a normal day in the summer look like for your family?"
Good question. So normal day for us, it's not like it's fun and games and nothing else. I still, I work. We're all at home. So I am working from home 8 hours, whatever, in front of a screen, in front of a computer. But we are, to the best of our ability, I would say, trying to take advantage of summer as it comes. So there's no pool because our pools are closed.
Till next week.
But we have been blessed with some really great weather. So we have tried to plan adventures that we can plan. So we've done canoeing, do a big canoeing trip as the family. That's always an easy layup adventure for everyone. We've done some camping, some car camping stuff, which I really enjoy. Lori likes it a little bit.
Wait, is that where you actually sleep in your car?
No, you take a tent, but it's right by your car.
Got it. Okay.
But I just think, I didn't do that a ton growing up as a kid, but I think there is something to it. It's a really simple, lightweight challenge to sleep in a tent for one night. But I think for kids, it's so memorable because it's so different and it feels like such an adventure. And there's so many problems you have to solve when you're putting up a tent and figuring out food and, all the things that come along with camping. So like I said, that's more my love language than Lori's, but we have done that and that's been a good one. But
I feel like maybe what she was asking is like, do you guys do this kind of fun every single day? And the answer is no.
Right.
They usually have some chores to do. There's the dishwasher, cleaning the room, there's some chore project, there's some type of educational, got to do my online whatever. Or maybe I might want to go for a bike ride with a friend, or, they kind of, it's not like we're just having a party every single day. But I will say when David gets off work, usually there is something in the evening that they do. Either it's a walk or a lot of pickle, or, hey, if it's raining, you want to play some cards, or can we just do a game night? So in the evenings, that is what we do.
So the Valentines value fun and adventure, but there are also chores to do, toilets to clean, meals to prepare.
That's right.
That's right. The Valentines are like everybody else. Okay, what about Vicki Diller asked, and she's got littler ones, what are some fun ideas you'd give parents to try out, particularly for the summer?
A lot of people like the trampoline with the dishwashing soap.
Yes.
We love to do hiking on new places. We have a root beer stand tasting that we want to hit like every week, try like either a different ice cream or an old fashioned like root beer stand kind of a thing. We put some things, we kind of had a family brainstorm session a few weeks ago, and David created some different categories for, what would be something fun or what would be something that kind of scared you. And so we have some ideas that we're sort of looking at. And then what are some projects? What's some work we're going to do? But for little kids, they don't have to be very long things. They can be really
That's right.
Quick things. We're lucky here. We have a lot of parks. We do a lot of trails, and the playground equipment is not open, but the trails, slip and slide for sure.
Right. Hey, so you said you ask a question, what would scare you? What's the point of asking that question? And then what do you do with their responses? How does that guide what you're planning?
So that was an idea where I said, put something down that would make you nervous to do. And adventure, Kim, like you and I have talked about, like we have talked about, is just stepping into something unknown and maybe overcoming some sort of fear. I think for me, still, camping does that. I mean, camping in a tent, because you're overcoming some fear of like, what could go wrong? It could pour, this could break, the animals could get us, whatever. And so I wanted to see what they would come up with things that might be a little bit scary to do. And then that would be like an extra challenge if we picked one of those and went for it. So
that's good. And, as part of a kid's development, it's really important for them. It's really important for them to try some new things and find out that they can do it. Because, right now parents are so often risk adverse. So the kids don't get to try things that might make them nervous. So I really like asking them what makes you nervous, and then maybe help them walk through that. That's brilliant. That's good. Yeah. Okay, let's take one more question. Beth, you just throw up what you want to. Okay, here, this is from Liz. She's got 4 kids ranging from newborn to 13. Best way to keep kiddos entertained while working from home. Any tips or tricks?
Wait, a newborn working from home? 4 kids? Bribery.
Well, one of the things that has not worked perfectly, but it's something that I think can work, and we've tried, is just trying to find time at breakfast to say, what's the day look like? Like, sketch it out. What are some things you're going to do? Obviously for the newborn, that's going to be different, but for 13, 10, and 7, you can kind of figure out like, hey, mom has to work or dad has to work, and these are some expectations. These are some simple chores that need to get done. But if there's an element of like something to look forward to in there, especially during the summer, I think that can go a long way to just setting an expectation for the family of this is how it's going to go. And it just kind of puts everything at ease. Even if it's, you got to spend 2 hours outside. I don't know. I don't want to see you. Just go find fun.
Which could build on that. We do a Sunday at some point. Usually it's kind of when we're having brunch and, kind of cleaning up from that, where we talk about our week, and I sketch out like a calendar that I have on my wall, and we kind of put like our big rocks, what we have in there. But then we also talk about like, well, what are some things you want to get done, or what's a project that you would like to work on this week? So our 10-year-old can be a little wandering with her time. And I always say, like, if you don't come up with something, a kind of a plan for yourself or some projects, then we're going to come up with some for you. So don't you prefer to kind of work on the things that you really want to? But then she needs help, like with what day she's doing what and what she's going to get done. And so we spend a little bit of time, each day talking about, well, what's that day look like? And then usually he has a quick lunch break and we come down and check in. Okay, well, I'm going to go back to work, but when I get done around 5, I want you to have this and this done. Okay. All right.
That's good. And I really like you involving the kids in planning their day. We don't need to be their cruise director. Right. And then come up with, Liz just said, you released me from guilt because she makes her kids go out at least an hour a day. Liz, no guilt in sending your kids outside. That's really, really good for them. I will send you, there's been all kinds of studies that have shown kids need to go outside and climb trees. That's right. And be bored. You guys, our time's up.
What?
So
that was fast.
Yes. So any final thoughts? Anything that you'd like to leave our parents with?
The thing I would just say is I feel strongly that God has created your family very intentionally. A lot of times I think we think, what's my purpose individually? What my work purpose and my long-term goals as an individual. But I think God maybe sees us more as a family. And so I would just say your family is super important. And I just want you to know that I feel like God wants to do huge things through your family. And that's been helpful to remember for me.
And I think we sort of said this, but try not to invent a whole bunch of new things, but really look at all of the things that you're sort of naturally doing and add some levels of intention to them. I just think that's really important. It's not about coming up with a whole new list of ideas. It's about saying, oh, I noticed that on Sunday afternoons, after we clean up, we usually have this bit of downtime, oh, maybe that's when we can talk through our schedule. Oh, okay, great. Let's just do that then.
Yeah.
That's
I've
really
noticed
good.
that Friday nights we're always really tired. No one feels like cooking, and we kind of just want to do a movie night. So guess what? Friday nights are now mom and dad down night, but it's pizza and movie night for the kids.
That's good, which they think is great.
Right.
That's a really good idea. So as you're looking at your week, even look at times through the week when maybe you're exhausted,
right,
where you're at the end of your rope, and then maybe you can do something like that. Put your kid in front of a screen with their favorite snack for a couple hours.
Right.
And you guys, I don't know, do whatever you do. Okay, that's good. Lori, will you pray for our parents as we close, please?
Absolutely. God, thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. Thank you to Beth and Kim, and just thank you for all of these folks that are watching and the families that they represent. Lord, I just ask for your blessing on each of them, that you would give them new energy this summer and that they would see new life in their family this summer. We just thank you so much, God, that we get to be in such a fun story, and it's all about you. So it's in your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And I just want to speak to, well, first of all, thank you so much. And Liz mentioned something about guilt. If you're watching this and you're feeling guilt, that is not from the Lord. Now, maybe you're feeling convicted about something new you should try or a new way to engage with your kids. That's awesome, because that's growth of a parent. But this is not about making you feel guilty. That's not from the Lord. And Deval and Lori, it's always fun spending time with you, whether it be virtually or in person. And parents, next week we'll be back with Chuck Mingo. So
I'm sorry. That's awesome.
Yeah, Chuck Mingo.
Major
come over. Yeah. And if you guys have any questions, continue to write your questions down. And just thank you for participating. So good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.